Everyone, how are you? I hope you are absolutely fine. So today we'll be talking about function in C++, and in the previous video we talked about loops and patterns. So let's get started. So let's talk about one definition of function. It lets us write code once and we can use it like anywhere. So how it works? Let me take one real life example. So let's assume you are in a restaurant and you are ordering something to the chef. Like if you want to order something, you will like call your chef or your waiter for it, right? And they will bring you food, and you are not going to make your own food again and again whenever you want to eat. And for example, if you want one noodles and you are not going to create by your own, right, you will ask chef. So chef is like a function in this example. So let's take two definition of function. They let us write once, use anywhere, and the second one is it has a name, parameters, that is optional obviously, and may return a value. So there are different type of function. It can be of void, so in which we don't have to return any value. Go through the syntax first. So consider this is a function int add. These are the parameters as you can see here. So parameters are optional. We can send it or it can be empty. Okay, I will tell you how it works. So this is function name. The add is function name, and before the add we write something like int or void. Let me write it, int or void. So void is also a return type, and this is function header and this is function body. So the function is divided into two types. One is function header, the second is function body. In the function body, there will be something like which we have to execute it. Like there is one variable sum which is taking the addition of x and y, and it is returning sum. And we are returning something here because it is of return type int. If it is of return type void, then we won't be returning anything here. Okay, so let's take an example of it. So this is a header, and this is the main function that we are going to execute at first. So this is int main equals to add 510. So this is the calling of function. This is a function and we have to call it inside the main function, and we are storing this function value in the result. I will tell you how it works in the code section. And then we are printing cout sum is, and then we are printing the result. So when we call this function, what happens? As soon as we call it, it will go to this line to this code, and then you can see this function is called from the main function, and we are sending 5 and 10 as parameters, and this function doesn't know that it is of which type, so we will explicitly define it int, right? So we are defining it like int a and int b. So 5 will be int a, and here this will be b. So we will return a plus b, or you can just store it in some variable, like in the previous example we did it, sum equals to a plus b, then we can just return sum, return a plus b. So that's how a function works. And we have two types of functions. One is library functions that are predefined, example square root and power. So we don't have to create this function in our code. We just have to do one thing. Like if we want to use this square root, what we will do, we will just consider this int n equals to 5. Let's take an example, and then we can just return cout square root of n. This we can do, and we don't have to call this function. We don't have to create such function like square root integer n and inside the whatever the function it will do. And then we have user defined function which are created by us, and these one are user defined function, like I just previously told you. These function are user defined function. So there are void type function in which the return type is void. Let's take one example of it also. So in this, as you can see, we have int main. This is the main function that will execute at first, and then we are calling greet function, and then we are returning 0 because this is of int type. We will just return 0, and we are calling greet function. So the execution will shift from this line to this line because we are calling this function. And then we will see that we don't have any parameters also here. As I told you, parameters are optional. We don't have to send it here. Like in this case, we are not sending it. These are optional, right? And also here we are writing nothing, but just two square brackets. And inside it we have cout hello, welcome to DSA series. So what it will do, it will just print as soon as we will call this function, it will just return cout hello, welcome to DSA series. And after just consider this line. After this there is a line says greet, and then we are returning 0, right? So what this line will do, this line again, the execution of code will go from this line to this line, and it will again print this. So this line will be printed 2 times. So that's how this function works. Let's go to VS Code. So let's take an example of this function. So this is the int main. This is the main function. In this we have result. We are taking result as a variable in which we are storing this value at 5 and 10. Then the execution will shift from 5, 10 to this line. So this is of integer type, so it has to return something. If we will just say cout a plus b, right, then what will happen? But as we run it, as you can see, there is some garbage value inside it. Why it is? Because we are not returning anything from this function. If we just printing it, like what is happening, if you will understand the code flow, what will happen? So result is taking the value of at 5 and 10, it should be 15, isn't it? But the sum is 18780, something garbage, right? As you can see, sum is this result. This result should contain 15. But in this function, the add function, we are not returning anything. If we just return anything like 0, if we return 0, so guess what sum value will be? Sum is 0, because whatever we will return from this function, it will show us the same thing, right? So what we have to do, we just have to we can take int sum equals to a plus b, and then we can do one thing, we can just return sum. Now if we will return it, you will find that sum is 15. Like this, we don't have this 15 because we are not printing anything from this function, we are just returning it. So this code can be used multiple times, right? Like if we are using this one, and if we just use one more thing, int result2 equals to add 10, 15. If we can use like it again and again. We can just say return 2, or we can just say return 2 is fine, and we can say return, we are returning result 1. And if we just take this line again, and we can say it 2, right? And you will see, so as you can see here, the result for first is 15 and for second it is 25. How it is working? Because it is reusable, right? You can use it again and again. It's not the sum value is fixed. Every time when you call it, the value will change. So I hope you understood this function. So this was the basic function. In the next video we'll be talking about pass by value and pass by absence. So that is the main topic, so I'm going to create one different video on that. So I hope you liked the video. Please like, share and comment, and if you want to know any other topics, you can just comment it down. I will create one video on it.